evening.
How are you?
I am so good. NK and Fezile, welcome all the way from Nairobi in Kenya. I am so excited and so honored to speak with you guys. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this,
even excited to have this conversation.
I am so excited as well. So this, you guys know that this is the conversation's name or the talk's name is about money. So we're going to talk a little bit about money. And I think the main reason why I reached out to you was about the testimony about your degrees that you guys got during COVID. But after my conversation with you the other day, I realized that there's so much more to this couple than just the degrees. So I think let's just jump into who are you, and yeah, give me a little bit of background. Who is NK Fezile and why Nairobi? Let's start there.
Wow. I think I'll take this one, and then the next one I think Fezile will pick it up from there. Our name's Nkrumah Mauncho, Fezile Mauncho. We are a couple, married. Born in Kenya, both of us were born in Kenya. Surprisingly, we're both born in the same hospital, which is kind of interesting. Providence, eh? Anyway, we both also went to university out in Canada, university called Trent University, where we met. I was in my second year, she was in her first year. And for those who understand Canada, especially this small city called Peterborough, you'll know that there were not a lot of people of color. Quite a few people of color out there. So when I saw somebody else who was of color and from Kenya, that was it. I was done. I think I was like, yeah, I think I found the one for me. So yeah, so we lived out in Canada for a bit. And in that period, a lot happened in that period. So you see, this is the part where Maria might need some guidance, because otherwise I'll take over your show. I'll be speaking for the hour.
NK, you go ahead. I'm going to jump in with questions, but you go ahead. The show is yours. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right, that's good. So yeah, so we met and began a relationship, and shortly after that, I would say about 3 years into our relationship, I popped the question. I said, look, I don't know if I was graduating from university. So I just said, look, I don't know where you'll be. I don't know where I'll be, but all I do know is I want you in my life. So I didn't quite put it that way. So the proposal will be a different conversation.
I hope it was a little bit more romantic.
Oh, but Marie, you'll be surprised. so yeah, so in the year, I got married. We got married. I was young. I was 24. She was 23, and not actually 22 at that time. And yeah, began a life together. So the year 2000 is a pivotal year. I have to mention this. It's one of those moments where there's our lives shifted, and me specifically, I would say my life shifted at that point, because that's the same year when I decided to pursue a relationship with Christ in a very deep and intimate manner. I figured that the direction my life was going up until that point, it would have been difficult for me to pretty much have let's just say I was a party animal, okay? Full stop. Immediately I say that, I think everybody knows what that means. Yeah.
Were you a mild party animal, or were you a wild party animal?
No, I was wild. In fact, my apartment was, and now for those who haven't seen this, my apartment was the go-to apartment in the city. From everybody from Toronto, from Ottawa, from Montreal, they would all show up at my place. And
even all the Africans.
Yeah, all the Africans, really. Yeah, they would show up at my place, and yeah, party was on from Friday till Sunday. So I honestly do not know how I graduated with a degree in business and computer science. But it happened. I did graduate with an honors degree, so there's something up in here.
So Fezile, were you also partying with them, or did you bring some balance?
I was partying with him, but I wasn't
That's crazy.
I wasn't as crazy as he was. I was there because he was there. Probably if he
okay.
wasn't there, I would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the bad influence. I was the guy
Mhm.
who you don't want to introduce your daughter to. So it's weird that I actually have daughters, right? God has his way of doing things. So yeah. So I mean, we continued. I started that same year. You know, I graduated from university. You know, had a child and began a career. I was a financial consultant from my early, literally 24 up until about when we moved out to Kenya. So for a better part of about 18 years, we lived in Canada. And
Okay. So also, so how many kids do you have?
we got three daughters.
And they were all
yeah.
were all born in Canada.
Yes. They're all born in Canada. They went to school. Pretty much their formative years were in Canada. And it's about, well, now it would be about 10 years ago. So the year about 2012 or 2010, when there was a certain itch in us, you know, we kept asking ourselves, you know, what are we doing in Canada? What are we affecting? Are we having any impact? You know, that impact question. You know, what are you doing with your life? You know, when you start asking yourself those questions. And then we started asking ourselves the question. So up until then, we were just living, you know, the usual suburban life. You know, we had a house, we had cars, we had, you know, the usual suburban life is what we were doing. Then going to church on Sunday, you know, I was part of the leadership in the church, and great group of people that we met, that we pretty much raised us in the ways of God for about 10 years of our lives. So, I mean, we give kudos to, you know, shout out to Pastor John and Pastor Janet and the Elam family, because they literally were family to us. Having left Kenya, right? Fezile was in Swaziland at that point, and then she came to Canada. So having left our homes, and now we were here in this, you know, city, and we found family in the city, and that family took us on and pretty much were our parents, our grandparents, you know, to our kids. And it was spectacular to have that time. So in doing that period, there was a lot of growth in us, maturing both as an individual, maturing as a couple, and maturing as parents. Yeah, it was one big pressure cooker of life. Yeah, you want to add to that?
We like NK said, we met at university, we got married, and found the Lord all in 1 year, and began life very, very quickly, very, very young.
Yeah.
But our foundation in the Lord and this amazing community of people who know the Lord really buffered us, I think, in a situation where we could really have gone astray and not known what to do. But we had just a beautiful community of godly people, and we raised 3 daughters. In the meantime, he started a career. Between the two of us, we both graduated, but between the two of us, we decided that I would stay at home with the kids and just raise them and, grow them into solid people. I did work for a little bit, and I really did not enjoy the work environment, not because anything was wrong with the work environment, but even since then, over time, I've noticed that I prefer to work in environments that are a little bit freer. I don't know if I would do well in a corporate environment, but again, things are changing in the world. So when you look with hindsight, it was better that I was at home with the kids because I had freedom and I could be creative and I could do the things that I love to do as a person, as well as have the opportunity to be hands-on with raising my kids. I know this is not necessarily the case for all women, but for me, it actually turned out to be exactly where I needed to be. It didn't always feel like that when I was younger. Sometimes I'd get frustrated and be like, oh, the world is leaving me behind. My friends are getting PhDs. But I think when we look back, it was the right thing to do. So in terms of who we are very, very versatile people. We are very hands-on. We are very curious about the world. We are always, looking to see new ways of doing things. And we are people who love freedom because when we came to know the Lord, we found a life of freedom, like in terms of freedom in my heart, in me as an individual, but freedom in how I navigate and move in the world. And so if there's something that we have always tried to inculcate in our kids and the people that God gives us responsibility over, is to see what does that look like. But then I think we also are people who, because of when we came to the Lord, from the background that we came from, the one thing that moved me particularly, and NK as well, was just how much God had done for us. And so from the very beginning, from a young age in the Lord, and from watching the community of God's people, we were given a sense of responsibility. Freedom comes with responsibility because of what had been done for us, knowing the Lord is not some nebulous thing or it's not only a spiritual thing. People practically loved us. Yeah. We never lacked anything. When we were young believers, we were young and looking for work, and sometimes finances were difficult. Our community would say, come, let's pray together. But not only that, they'd bring us clothes. Our kids always wore designer clothes when they were young, and we never lacked anything. So we learned from a very young age that there's a freedom that is given to you, but it comes with a responsibility. And when you mature, when you grow and you experience that freedom, you as well give back to other people. So I think that's kind of what we are about, in a very beautiful, fun way. We love to do this. My husband really loves people. Yeah. He's extremely extroverted. Absolutely love to be with people.
So this is funny. You talk about loving people. So we're in a young apartment. Our daughter is about 2 years old at this point, right? I've come from work. It's late, and I walk into the house. Fezile has prepared a meal, and there's a homeless guy who's sitting in our couch. So I go, oh, hey, how are you? He goes, I'm fine. I say, oh, okay, but how do you know Fezile? And he says, no, I was just at the street and I was hungry. And she said, why don't you come home for a meal?
Yeah.
I'm saying that to say, in as much as that I love people, there's an innocence that Fezile brings to our relationship, especially when it comes to people. I'm a bit of a skeptic. Fezile is a bit of a free-willed person. So she's like, hey, let's just love on people. And I'm like, hey, who are we loving on? Okay. So
I do very well with the one-on-ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's very good with,
bring the people. Yeah. And it was shortly after that we started a home group. What do you call them? Home group. We started a home group, and we had several people who were young people, really. We had about 15 young people in the house every Saturday. And I could tell you this, if you talk about miracles for money, so I just knew how much money we made. My budget says one thing, right? So as I said, I'm quite the meticulous person. So my budget says one thing. So I know how much money I've budgeted for the week, so that, when we're doing groceries, it's enough for me, Fezile, and our daughter. And then there's 15 people coming up on Saturday. And lo and behold, at the end of that Saturday, chicken is there, right? There is rice, there is beans, there is, sauce, there's salad. I'm like, juice, tea. I'm like, how? So I don't know. Just look, we said we are here for people, then that's it. The Lord will provide. And he never failed us. For a good 6 months, almost a year, when we ran that program, he never failed us.
I think
every Saturday.
Yeah, that speaks to our experience has always been that when God has called us to do something, where we don't always hear a voice, or we just feel leading, or you feel, I think we should do this.
Yeah.
And whenever we set out to do something that we feel that we have been called to do or led to do, the provision always comes in. We are very, very wealthy, but we don't always have a lot of money in our bank account.
I love that. I saw the other day, I saw somewhere on social media or something said, I am rich. I just have a little bit of a cash flow problem. I was like, I can identify with that. Okay, guys, but if we think about Africa, there's so many Africans, I think, from all over Africa that is migrating to Canada, because we believe, or there's the idea that there's a better life there, that things looks different. Canada is a first world country. Africa, not so much. Why in the world did you come back this way?
Well, again, I think it's a little bit of a long story. I'll try to shorten it. It's that while we were there growing the Lord, when we talk about this idea of freedom and responsibility, we are Africans, very proud, love our people, love our continent, and we wouldn't be anywhere else. But while we were there, as we got to know the Lord more and more, we felt that we were sent there to be educated. So we literally went to school, but we also just went to observe a society that works well. And Canadian society works really well.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, but back then, yeah.
Somebody beg to differ.
Yeah, it's still a good place to live, and it's awesome. And we are also Canadian citizens, so we're very, we're thankful for that and grateful to be Canadians as well. And we saw the one thing for me that has left a permanent mark on me was the sense of responsibility that Canadians have towards one another.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of charitable activities going on. One big one that every Canadian would know about is something called the Terry Fox Run. People would raise money for cancer. People would raise money for the homeless. People would raise money for whatever need there was on a large scale, on a national level. There'd be campaigns on TV, on a local level, at the school level. Kids, I was constantly, sending cakes to school and sending this and the other, because children, I went with little walks with my kids around the neighborhood on every level, at church, in the mosques, across communities of different nationalities and color. Canadians are amazing people who take responsibility for the land as Canadians. They do have a history of colonialism exactly the same way that we do. I looked at that, I observed that. I was always very, very curious and felt very connected to the native people in Canada, because I could relate to their history as people whose lands other people came to. But then Canadians figured out how to navigate that. The generation that existed in Canada when we were there were not the generation that perpetuated some of the atrocities, but they learned how to live together as Canadians and look after each other as Canadians. And one of the things I learned about that was I saw that Canadians are not victims, and they don't have this victim mentality. And so I think that's what we were sent to see. That's why, besides getting a great education. And so as we grew in the Lord makes you powerful. The Lord tells you you're strong. He tells you you're an overcomer. You're not a victim. And so as those things became real in our hearts, and we saw them also because we became adults in Canada, we came as kids, going to school, happy go lucky, and then we became parents and spouses.
Adulting.
Yeah, we adulted over there, and we saw how they did it as well, and with fantastic support. We wanted to multiply that, and we thought, well, Canada's taken care of. Look at all these wonderful people. But where we come from, we understand the problems. All the labels. Africans are poor. Africans are, what are we? We're victims. Africans can't do anything for themselves. Africans are always begging for money outside of the country. Yeah. And we are Africans. Yes,
there's a little bit of entitlement as well. Hey, we always
a little bit.
There's something like, you need to give to me. We always kind of stand with the hands. We want to receive.
But that's not necessarily because of the truth of who we are. That sometimes there's a narrative that can be given to us that we begin to take on for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so we said, well, how can we go home and share love? How can we go home and share this freedom? And love also comes with responsibility. But when you love, the responsibility is not a burden. The responsibility becomes, for me, it becomes, oh, here's a problem to solve. Hey, how can we be creative? Let's innovate. Let's make new things. Let's discover new possibilities for ourselves as Africans. Let's discover how powerful we are. And so that's why we wanted to come back home. And we figured, well, it's going to be very judgmental and very pompous of us to go and tell Africans, listen, you are entitled and you're victims. That nobody was going to listen to us. We said the best way to do this is to say, what does it look like to raise up powerful Africans? And so we felt inspired to start in the education system. So that's our approach. Our approach is to say, let's work with young Africans. Let's work with, minds that have not been too tainted either way. And let's say, like, if we say, what does it, together have a conversation with young people and say, what does it look like to be free? What does it look like to be creative? What does it look like to be innovative? What are the possibilities on our continent? Let's just together discover this. And so that's what we came back to do, to see how we can contribute to the education system in order to transform our community.
Oh my word!
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy when we made the jump. I mean, in living called it the cushy life, to decide to come back. And it's not like we came back with jobs. We didn't come back with, rolling in the dough, as they say. No, we came back with just what we had in our hands, and we said, look, let's make it work. So it was tough. The transition was tough.
Very difficult.
And anyone who's a returnee can tell you, coming back to home, motherland, is a difficult jump, because you're coming into a certain mindset, right, that you're not used to, especially if you've lived abroad for a long time. There's certain order, there's a certain way of thinking, certain way of doing things that you're not familiar with. So you have to sort of acclimatize to this new reality. That can be a bit of a shock. So
I think especially for your young children who were born, all they ever knew was Canada. You call it the gushy life. And now you come there and you bring them to the rough and wild Africa.
Well, God makes them they're very, very malleable. They're very adjustable, very versatile. Yeah. So I think thank God, I think we came at the right age for our children. They're old enough to understand the world, but young enough to be curious about it. They asked us a lot of questions. Well, a funny thing is that
still ask us a lot of questions.
In Kenya, for some reason, when people see each other, and let's say you see your friend across the road, they'll go, "Hi, how are you?" But they will not cross the road to have a conversation together. They will have the conversation with one person across the road and the other person, and they're walking parallel to each other and having, so as Africans, those are just things that are normal to us. Like, I never really thought 2 minutes about it, but the kids will ask, "Mom, why do people in Kenya always talk to each other from across the street?" I mean, funny. Their outlook to life was funny. And then we have this public transportation system called matatu. It's like a little taxi, a van. And in Kenya, on our little route from the marketplace to our house, it's a little bit of a shorter route because you're getting into the rural area. So we don't have the very fancy big. If you go on the internet and see matatu in Kenya, they're beautiful and they're colorful. We have the little rickety ones. Sometimes they tip over. And so one day I was with the kids in the matatu, and this one had a hole. And my daughter thought that was the best thing in the world, because she looked on the ground and the tarmac is rushing by, and she had legs like this. And it's like, what an adventure. And, we're all packed in. It's very dangerous. I'm not, listen, this is Africa. But to them, as little kids, it was the best thing. And they said, "Mom, can we go on the matatu again?" Well, we didn't have a car, so we usually use the matatu a lot until we could get a car. But for them, it was not always necessarily like bad. The one thing they did, they missed their friends, they missed school, they missed, going to public parks and things like that. But again, we figured out how to make it work for us over here. So we can't go to the park.
Did you ever think you made a mistake?
All the time.
Many times we would say, look, if we just, there's no shame in packing up and going back to Canada. You know, it's not like God won't be God in Canada again. God is still sitting on the throne, so we can pack up and go. And once we finish that conversation, the next thing is, but why did we come?
Yeah.
What was the reason? What was our why?
Yeah. Is God not big enough?
Is God not big enough for Kenya?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Let's back it up. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Listen, Fezile, you told me something about the fridge. Tell me the fridge story. I loved it.
I know we talk about God's provision, and we talk about, that He provides and for the needs that we have, but sometimes He will leave it to the wire. So we have bought our groceries. We have, this 1 week, and nothing is coming in. NK is working. He started working for himself. Started building a small company, and has been building it over the years. But he was in the early days where he still didn't have a lot of clients, and people pay late. And you know what? Everybody who runs a small enterprise or an enterprise understands. So we are down to the wire. The only thing left in the fridge is bread and rice. And my daughter, my oldest, comes to the house. I hear the cupboards closing and opening and slamming and everything, and she says, the only thing left is bread and rice. I guess I'm going to make myself a rice sandwich. Ink and I looked at each other. Your heart just, I wanted to cry, but funnily, I wanted to cry. And at the same time, it was the funniest thing that we ever had. we all burst into laughter and we laughed. Tears were rolling down our eyes. And it was so funny. But funny, we didn't eat bread. We didn't eat bread sandwich. Something came in and we had. So in our house, the joke is, as long as we're not having rice sandwiches,
okay,
everything's fine.
But you never actually had a rice sandwich because God has always provided. Listen, but I want to get to COVID, because at the beginning of COVID, you guys would have been there for about 8 years, back at around 8 years. NK, you said that it was really hard because you came from Canada, but you couldn't find any work, so you kind of had to sort for yourself and figure things out for yourself. Where were you guys in terms of work and planning and this education plan that you had 2 years ago, just before the first lockdown?
Actually, if I take you back when the rice sandwich incident happened, right? Trying to set up my business, I remember thinking to myself, one, I can't get into the banks. For some weird reason, the bank system here is a bit, it's a close-knit community, so breaking through the bank's network was a bit tough. So at my lowest of lowest when we were figuring out that, look, let's just pack it in, let's just go back to Canada. I remember going down to my small little office and literally on my knees. And any man who has run a business, or woman, understands that point when you're breaking and you're saying to yourself, I've got a family, right? We made a decision between my wife and I that she'll stay home. So literally the ball is on my court to provide so that, we're not eating rice sandwiches. So I'm in my office just banging on my desk and crying to God saying, look, you brought us here. This was not the deal. I was supposed to get, 6-figure income. I thought I was going to be driving the big cars, Where's all that, I'm having to eat rice sandwiches, like literally at that moment. And then there was a still small voice that came by and just said, and I heard it clearly saying, what do you have in your hands? So for the better part of my career, I was using my finance, consulting business background. That's what I was doing. But in the side, every weekend or in the evenings, I would code. I'd actually build websites. So when you said, what do you have in your hands? The first thought I had was, oh, geez, yeah, I can actually code. I can build websites. So picked up the phone, called a friend of mine who I knew she had a crappy website and said, look, I can actually build your website for you in under a week. Technology had changed, right? She didn't know that. She just knew I could do it. And she asked me, how much do you need? And I said, well, I need about 30,000. So it's about
$300.
Yeah, about $300. And she, boom, sent it to my phone, mobile money. From rice sandwiches to $300. I mean, talk about turn of events. That ran us now for a good 3-4 years. I was running my business. So building websites, consulting on small enterprises, helping them move to the next level of their enterprises. That's what I was doing for about 3 years. So it was bringing in some money, and at least now we're moving forward. Then the dream began because we were homeschooling our kids, right? So we are homeschooling parents. And we said, look, this transition now, we better take it to the next level for what we need to do. And what was that was, if we can take our kids, that we're doing what we're doing at home, and then invite other kids to come, then maybe we can begin to put into place these thoughts that we've had about what education would look like. Like at what level, how far can you go with what learning looks like? Is learning only relegated into the classroom? No. Is learning only relegated to Sunday school? No. We can transform our entire environment into a learning space. So let's just do that. So other friends of ours said, sure, we'll bring our kids because they're also homeschooling their kids. So we had about 15 kids to start and ran that for a good 2-3 years. By the time we were closing up, we're anywhere between 60 to 80 kids on a regular basis. So it was because before it was 60 to 80 kids. So that's what we were turning.
So those are all kids that've been homeschooled in your community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you are not homeschooling them. This is extra activities on top of their schooling. Is that correct? Or is that?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. This is So we were doing music, we were doing art, we were doing the creative stuff, the things that we feel
Science,
as
technology.
Yeah. Fitness, sports, so basketball and soccer was what we were doing. We felt that those areas were important enough that if you do them well, they'll spill off into your core subjects, right? Into your math, your English. And so we ran that for 3 years, and then COVID hit. So just about when COVID was just about to hit, that's March 2020. I remember talking to Fezile, and comes to the point that what you asked. I remember talking to Fezile and saying, look, Fezile, I've always wanted to do my master's, and I've never found an opportunity to do it. I've read books. I pretty much had a mindset of somebody who's carrying a master's degree, but I never had that piece of paper to just say, look, I did it. I've got the master's degree. And hopefully, if I did it, maybe some other stuff will come out given the times that we're living in. Because remember, I graduated, the year, whatever. So times have changed and things have changed. So, hey, can I increase my capacity? COVID doesn't hit yet. Then COVID hit. The week I applied, COVID hit.
We thought it was going to last 2 weeks.
We thought it was going to last 2 weeks. So I encouraged her. I said, Fezile, I think this is an opportunity here. I think you should also apply to do your master's. And it was a master's in education that I felt that, you know what, it's her strong suit, the way she thinks, the way she sees the world, and given what our vision is, that, hey, master's degree would make sense. So we applied, and sure enough, the president comes online and says, we're going into a lockdown. So we're like, oh, Fezile, I think we've got an opportunity here. Even though it's for 1 month, it'll be 1 month uninterrupted because we can't leave the house. Yeah, and we started, and wow, man, the ride lasted.
But now we're talking MBA, and all of us know MBA ain't cheap. So now we're talking MBA times 2. Okay, so
yes.
Tell us about that provision.
I'm telling Fezile we're going to be doing our MBA. I'm going to do my MBA, and she's going to do her MEd, Master's in Education. So there's a cost attached to it. She comes to me and says, no, NK, we're not doing that. We are saving money for the kids to do their schooling. We had our chance, and you know what? Our chance is gone. So let's first get the kids out. Let's get them into university.
And we also have to, because we have this is what happened. We had 80 kids, and we needed to expand, and we've been talking about expansion. So we need the money to expand and build the buildings. The kids are running upstairs because we converted our whole home was converted into, when they're here, it became a school. And we live with his parents adjacent to us. And sometimes I would see my mother-in-law would walk by with 8 little kids behind her. Hello, Nyanya. Nyanya means grandmother in Swahili. Or they'll be like, it's everywhere. And so and then the living room, and they're making castles with my mother-in-law's cushions. And they'll have cow skin. We went to the abattoir, got some raw cow skin that we're going to make into drums, and there's flies everywhere. And my mother-in-law's friends have come for Bible study. And so I was thinking, we need to move up. We need to get out of a gazebo and get out of a kitchen, because, so the money was not meant to do masters. We're old. Listen, our time is past. The Lord has told us for the kids.
We had the plans. So obviously, it's not like we had all the resources at hand. And the master's degree that we were doing allows you to pay at the end of your module. So you finish your module, 8-week module, then you make your payment. Honestly, Mark Marie, I kid you not. Every single end of the module.
You forgot to tell how we had a strong conversation about just. I
love that, a strong conversation. Tell us about the strong conversation.
Oh yes, that was a strong conversation.
Tell us.
Very, very heated words.
Be sensible. Come on.
Yeah. But don't worry, God will provide.
I said, fine, I will sign up. It cost me nothing to sign up.
Yeah.
Oh no, it cost a little bit.
$60.
Yeah, $60.
$60.
In
you
COVID.
guys, but you guys still all signed up before COVID hit. So you signed up. You signed up before it was official that now we are in trouble.
Before lockdown and all that.
Before lockdown. Yeah. So it was a leap of faith. I can't lie to that. It was a leap of faith.
So you guys were thinking we're going to do master's degrees with 80 kids running around building castles with mother-in-law's cushions. Never mind the money. Where did you think you're going to get the time?
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. But Mary, if you know our story and if you've seen our story from beginning, literally that's been our life.
Yeah.
We've done the craziest thing. I bought my first house at the age of 25 with no money.
No.
That's another story on its own.
Yeah.
A house that we had everything we wanted, jacuzzi, swimming pool, all that. With
after another strong conversation, I'll tell it quickly. So we were living in an apartment and it was really difficult at that time. We didn't have any money. And the people said, listen, you guys have not been paying your rent. You need to move out. Yeah. So we thought we're going to find.
I was 1 month arrears.
Yeah, we had arrears and stuff. Yeah. So we were going to find a cheaper place. So he tells me, I thought we were going to find a cheaper place to rent. He tells me, no, we're going to buy a house. I said, what are you talking? How are we going to buy a house? I was very angry. And then he got the real estate agent to come and pick me up. You know, you can't be rude and be like, go away. So I get in the car, we go around for 2 days. And then he says to me, I have the perfect. And then I was thinking, this man is buying. Oh my God, these two people are crazy. Funny enough, the real estate agent was also a believer. So he told us he has found the perfect place for us. And he took us to the place. It was a little bit of it needed a little bit of work. The couple were divorcing, and so they needed to sell it quickly. And so by this point, I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna go along with them. So the two of them had having a discussion like that, and they said, okay, they signed something together, and then NK went to the bank, and he came back and told me that the manager gave him a mortgage, and we're moving out next week. We've always had very strange stories like that. And they, that's how we bought our first house when we were being kicked out of our apartment and we had no money and no nothing. And he just got an amazing man who was so kind.
He became like a father. Actually.
Yeah.
He became like a father.
Yeah.
Because I'd go and see him often and just talk to him. And I bought him lunch a couple of times. And all he did was just talk to me like a father and just say, you know what you're doing is good. Any support you need, you come. He gave me my first loan for my first car.
As well, yeah.
A year after I bought the house. So
God will always bring people like that. Like whenever we needed something, it wasn't always that we were given a handout or cash or something. You go through the process. God will either give us, money through, whatever channel, or just incredible people that will mentor us and walk us through, or give us just the advice we need, or just, just the one word that you needed. It has always been like that. He has always just wonderfully shepherded us and fathered us through all the things that we're going through.
The church family was also brilliant.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. They were amazing.
So much support.
They stepped in. I think I was short about $5,000 for the closing fees and all that. And I just went to the church and said, listen, this is my situation. I can't pay you back, but if you give me a period of about, 2 years or so, I'll pay you back.
Yeah. So
he loaned me right there. He just wrote the check, gave it to me, said, yep, go buy a house.
Are you talking about a pastor friend?
Pastor friend. Yeah. So now we come back, we sit in the house, strong conversation. Fezile said, okay, I'll apply to pay the $60. Applied, not knowing how we're going to make the payments. And then we start classes. Month in, COVID is not over. They have not shut it down. That means COVID is here. I took a leap of faith and I didn't do one course. I did 2 courses to start with. In the first term, I did 2 courses back to back, like literally at the same time. He just took 1 course. He's like, look, I'll just pace myself. Did the first 2 courses. And then at the end of the term, because when you're signing up, you have to sign up. And
before the term
you have to sign, you have to pay and then sign up. And you've got a window of about 2 days to do that. I keep checking my account, like literally. But Mary, I'd go into my bank account maybe 5 times a minute. Deposit. Oh, damn, nothing yet. Deposit, nothing yet. And on the deadline, literally at about maybe 2 hours to midnight, I check my account and there's money in there. 3 of the deposits, the people who made the deposits into my account told me specifically, they did not know. Nobody knew. We didn't tell anybody that we're doing our master's. That was just me and Fezile, and our kids knew that we're doing our master's degree. They'd say, you know what? We just felt we needed to give you X amount just for you guys, right? For what you do. Now we have a small community that we've set up here in Kenya. We are a fellowship that we've been running now for about 5 years. And we are a close group, and we share, we love on each other in different ways. We celebrate each other. Whenever somebody's doing something, we are all there. So it's family for us. So one of them was like, look, here's X amount for you. And it's the exact amount that we needed to pay for the fees. That happened 3 separate times. I was like, yeah, Fezile would be like, okay, NK, I get it. This was the Lord. So I increased my capacity now. I started doing 3 courses at the same time because I was like, I'm going to get this done in a short period, While the window is open, hey, let's pack it in. Let's get as much as we can.
Let's stay in the flow. Oh, my word.
Yeah, so we did that and finished my master's in about 15 months. Fezile finished in about 18 months. And literally as we finished is when the lockdown was lifted.
Yeah.
So I keep saying the reason why COVID came was so that we could get this done.
I'm telling you.
So that
I
you
wouldn't
could,
have done it.
so that you could enlarge your territory and make your tent, move out your tent pens. Oh, wow. Okay, there's 2. I kind of want to start to wrap this up, but I think we can talk for another 2 hours because you guys, I know there's still so much that we haven't said. But I want to get to the testimony of you getting a job, NK, but I also just want to, because I know that the learning center kind of closed down then during COVID, because now you couldn't have those kids. But I want to know, where are you with that building project? So let's start with that, and then we can, in closing, wrap up with NK's job story.
Yeah. So we looked at it. We said, look, what we had been doing was good with the 80 kids and the work. I mean, we've got a website, we've got a Facebook page, we've got everything up there. You can go and check it out.
Please share with us. Please share it with us. Yeah.
And you'll see all the work that we're doing there, which is beautiful. But we knew that this was just the beginning. In business, most of the entrepreneurs here will know, you've got your MVP, set up your idea. Let's see what that looks like. Trial phase. We can call it many names, prototype, whatever. We did that for 3 years, and we said, okay, we got something. We now know what the next level looks like, but in order to get there, infrastructure. We need infrastructure. So an infrastructure project, as you all know, is not a light thing. It requires some significant funds. And here we go again. NK with his daring belief that this big God we serve can provide. And lockdown has happened, or lockdown has been lifted, and we're not going to move to the next level, but we want to set up our structure. So I went ahead and called an architect. He's telling me, why are you calling an architect? We don't even have the money. I said, sweetie, don't worry. Money will be found. It'll come. I just have that faith that it will be found. So we called the architect. We sat down. We had some strong conversations in terms of what that would look like. And then
we started off with a guy who didn't quite understand what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is connected to sustainability. Yeah. It's using what we have. We really feel strongly we have to use the earth in our buildings. Yeah. And so when we were talking to him, and he was interpreting it in the traditional way, and we know that God has called us to do something different, something new. Mm-hmm. So the strong conversations around that. So then we switched and got somebody else who was able to now, capture what was in our minds and put it on paper exactly how we see it, and most importantly, incorporate the earth element. That was really important. Yeah. That what do you have in your hand? When you are in grief, you fall down on the ground and you cry and you pick up soil in your hands. Yeah. And God says, what are you going to do with it? Yeah. So that was part of our and even fighting for what we felt God had told us in our hearts. So.
And you talk about the right people. Mm-hmm. We also found the right contractor to see this vision and begin. Yeah. Luckily enough, he has done a few of this alternative type constructions, which is what we have. So he was able to see our vision. All he did was just tell us, look, this is what's going to cost. when you have the money, let us know. And
So
so we sat on it for a good 7 years. 7 years. There was 7 years incubation before we even started anything. When COVID hit, that's when I said, here is the impetus. This is it. I think this is our time. And so.
And the worst time the world has ever seen.
Yep.
NK decided this was the time.
Yes.
Well, I think in the last 45 minutes, we've learned that he's a risk taker. if the odds says no, NK says yes.
That's it. No, but we did. I mean, we literally started off. I built a security wall. That was the first thing. We built toilets. We were like, you know what? We need to have, really
because
good
the
toilets.
kids, 80 kids,
80 kids with one
toilet.
Hey, we're building. Yes. So we started that construction, and then we moved to the next phase. So right now, where we are at in the construction is we built 2 of the structures. Not complete yet.
We made them to be multidisciplinary, so you can use them for different subjects. You can just the same way we've always done. What do you have in your hands? How do we structure time? God has previously God gave us incredible people who worked with us. Though our friends, even at the school level, or this, we call it a learning space, they became family. The kids, the parents, and our friends who would come, and they would come and bring what they had, and they would come with the most amazing ideas, the most brilliant minds in the thing that they did. Marie, we could not have gone and looked for them and put out a call. Jesus brought every single one of them, and they were just what we needed.
So here we are. We're thinking about this. We haven't started construction yet. Think about this. Then we went through a certain course that we did, the 5BP, and in it, the teachings were really, they were taking my mind to the next level. The next level in the sense that, God and I have been working at this level where my faith was like, look, whatever we need, He'll provide. This was next level stuff, because now it's not just understanding by faith, it's literally the practical application of faith.
Yeah.
Man, that just went
turbo boost.
Yeah. I finished my master's, literally just received all congratulations and everything. Fezile is online. She's saying, hey, I think NK, I just saw a job that you can apply for. And I go like, okay, send it over. Because she used to do that all the time. She just sent me jobs whenever she sees something interesting that, my qualifications are sort of.
Because he finished his master's and he was getting antsy, and I'm trying to finish my work, and he was very annoying. So I was like, this guy needs to be engaged. Driving me nuts.
Oh, yes. I came from 3 courses in a day. My time was just packed with reading and writing and, reports and group work. It was challenging enough. So anyway, she sees this job, she sends it to me, and no word of a lie, Marie, it was the perfect job for me. Because 1, it has the entrepreneurial side, which I've been doing now for the past 20 some odd years of my life, in terms of concrete career in business, in finance. And then it has an educational component, which is working with leaders who are setting up schools across Africa. And I'm working with them in terms of taking them from where they're at to what we call a world-class institution. So I'm working with about 8 leaders right now who are from different areas in Africa. And the beauty of that is that, the compensation package is enough that we can begin up.
Get going with the other
projects. Yeah. So it's like it comes here, it goes there, and it just continues. So obviously the compensation package is not enough to build the whole thing right now, but we're saying, look, we're getting on with it. We're getting on with it.
Can I say this as well? And so, during COVID, we joined the coach groups at WOW. We'd come across WOW online, started learning, and just our whole world was blown. We had never seen God expressed and live like this. We saw courageous people, fierce, loving,
then what else?
Wild. And we loved it because that's how, we always said, oh, we're on the cutting edge. We found people living on the bleeding edge, and we're like, yes. Loved it. So we started learning from them and following and, and doing what they taught us to do. And so in one of the coach groups, two of our friends, Helena and Judith, they started prophesying over us when we didn't have any money. And they said, I just see so much money. I see so much money around you. And we're like, hey, man, like excited. But then what does that mean? We didn't know what it looked like. And it was shortly after that these opportunities came. And it has brought money again. We are very rich with not much money in our accounts. But God brought it's about resource.
Yeah.
God has been able to resource us to fulfill the dreams, to fulfill the thing that we've been carrying. Yeah. And we always know that, again, back to freedom and responsibility, that these resources are for us to take care of our people, to take care of the community. And so this work that he's doing across Africa resources us financially, but resources us by connecting us to the very Africans that the Holy Spirit spoke to us about 12 years ago, told us, I want you to go to Africa and I want you to find my babies and infuse their minds with freedom and, the things we talked about at the beginning. So it's just on so many levels. And another thing as well, we have had people give us outside of the work that we do, outside of the work of our own hands. When people who hear about what we do, a friend of ours was very irritated and said, when are you going to start this? Come on, let's get on with this. And he said, I'm going to give you some money. I'm going to write you a check. And he wrote us a huge check. And well, all of it went into the building.
Back into the building.
It's so funny. But yeah, it's been amazing to see how God has been so awesome.
There's so many things just that comes out of this conversation that God has been speaking to me and kind of continuing to say. And I think the one thing is resources and finances are not the same thing. Finances is just one bit of resources. That is so profound if we can just grasp that, and that God will provide in a need through resources, which might not be money. We are sometimes so stuck in a way of thinking, I need this, I need money. And God doesn't necessarily think in that way. And then I had a beautiful conversation this morning where somebody said, but the people in our lives is currency. The people in our lives
that's it.
is the people in our lives is what sustain us, is part of the resources that God gives us. So that is amazing. But what I really want to bless you guys, and I just want to say, continue doing what you're doing. You guys are absolutely shining, and the joy is. I can feel your joy all over my body, and I don't think that you ever would have felt this fulfillment in Canada. I don't think Canada could have given you the absolute joy and the absolute fulfillment in Christ and where you are now. Just continue in that. And oh my word, I just want to say thank you so much. I am on such a high. I don't know. I'm going to go to bed now. You guys are such an incredible, incredible blessing. And send us pictures of that building and blessings with the work. And I'm so excited for the next generation of Africans coming from Kenya having a new mindset. That really excites me. And you guys are on the cutting edge of that. Wow.
And thank you, Madam, for this opportunity to share, not just with you, but also with the ones who listen to the good work you're doing. Bringing people together and helping people not just focus on, as you just said, money alone. It's everything else that is around the money. Money is a tool. That's all it is. Is a tool for the work that God has placed inside your heart. And we bless the guys who are listening, and you know what, even the ones who are listening now, we just say it's not the question of the lack of money, it's the question of the purpose that God has put you in, and money will follow that.
Amen.
So
Amen.
we bless you.
Thank you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening, and we will talk again soon. Bless everybody else as well. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.